weather like I have been the last few days. Not just because it was probably going to affect me and coming right where I'm located, but also once I started watching this stuff, I became fascinated with these models and fascinated with all this description of. They said, oh, if it hits the bay a certain way, then it's just going to create this crazy whirlpool and just 15, 18-foot surges. But they said if it's only about 10 miles lower, then it's going to just pretty much be ineffective there and not nearly as these guys are crazy, of course, just how good they are. And explaining all this stuff, I have found it very fascinating because I knew very little about hurricanes, still don't, but 1,000 times more than I did just a few days ago. So it is interesting.
Want to know something funny?
Sure.
The craziest thing about this is when all the surfers go out. You can't get waves. You get the best waves during hurricanes. I remember we had one that came up Jacksonville, and I had a kid, say, "Hey, coach, I can't train," and I was just like, duh, it's a hurricane coming. I'm like, I don't want to drive to the destination in those kind of winds. He's like, nah, man, I surf. I don't know when I'll get waves like this again, man. And I'm like, you gonna go? I said, you know what? I hope you make it back, son. That's all I like to say. But yeah, that's one of the things that people.
That's the only time we get those waves. I think Cocoa Beach is about the only place in Florida that you get decent waves. But yeah, the big waves, you don't get them unless it's a hurricane. And folks like me and James that have lived here our whole life, I mean, I'm not trying to speak for you, but I'm guessing here. Hurricanes, like we grew up with so many tropical storms as a kid. You're like, you want to go sit out on the porch with grandpa or dad and like watch it and things of that nature. It has to be pretty darn bad for people to leave. Even like Hurricane Ivan back in the day, that was a big eye opener. But the 2 weeks after it, as bad as things are made out as devastation and stuff, if you're just a kid or you grew up in it, it's like camping for 2 weeks. You got the generator going. You're cooking on the grill, riding four-wheelers along the way to get around the neighborhood. So just pray for not so much loss of life, and maybe it can help people come together and get over some things here as we get into talking about football.
Probably about 11 p.m. I'll hit the porch and smoke a good cigar, have some scotch, sit on there and watch the rain and the winds. And category 1, 2, 3. Well, 3 now, and then again, really to those in Tampa, my thoughts are out to them because 2 weeks ago, Helene gave them, it's not so much the hurricane, it's how much rain. They're already like really low to sea level. It doesn't take much to flood things in Tampa. So like with this coming, St. Pete, Clearwater, a lot of that stuff, I really, that's the stuff that you got to be more worried about, outside of, the winds, we're used to that kind of stuff. But like, I feel bad for, seems like one event after another where people are having to, get their stuff. So, but good thing for hurricane parties and youth. Like my son's just playing PlayStation and enjoying the fact that they don't got to go to school till Tuesday.
Yep. Like
they got 6 days off, and I've got to be. So y'all, outside of that damage, y'all pray for my sanity because I got to be locked in with an 11-year-old and a 5-year-old who's anxious for his birthday and is hoping that the hurricane leaves before his 6th birthday comes. So, I don't want to choke my kids. So,
you get it back in the summer. Do they still do that? I remember when we missed 2 weeks for Ivan, they threw our butts. We had to stay 2 weeks later at the end of the school year.
They build it into the school year now. So they had weather days. So, February, Valentine's Day, they told us Valentine's Day and May 30th are already the day, two days that they're going to make up now. So, they'll make them. They get out of school. So, it is what it is.
Well, happy birthday to our guy there.
Yeah,
big number 6. Nice. Well, DJ Lundy's not going to be on the field for the rest of this season. And based on his tenure and how long he's been with the team and his NFL prospects, are we expecting that's it for his college career?
They're saying he's could potentially petition to get a 6 year of eligibility. I know people think it's longer than that, but he actually came the year after the COVID year. But I'm what I'm thinking, and this is our fan base is just when we're tired of somebody, when you're the worst person, you may not even be a good person. at that point. Florida, it's going to be Brock or Luke moving forward. You got Tramel Jones coming in as a very good freshman, but he's got an ankle injury, correct? So you're going to have to hit the portal in some capacity. Oh, my bad. And I apologize. You have Trevor Jackson as well developing. You're going to have to bring somebody in to give some semblance of, in case somebody goes down, you have a function. You can your offense can function a little bit. Nobody's transferring into Florida State unless they're going to start. If there's an available guy that you really feel is exponentially better than Brock or Luke, you go find him. But it's going to be hard to get somebody to want to come here. I'll say this: why not keep him around as a backup? He's not a bad person. He's not going to go to the NFL. He's not going to the NFL. I can tell you that wholeheartedly. Regardless of what happens, his career is done. Let that man go get his master's and basically start being a clipboard guy. It's cheaper than on scholarship. It's cheaper than hiring another on-field assistant. So those are just some things that that I think about with DJU. But as far as the youth movement, you might as well. You're getting ready with Brock and I hope to see Luke in some capacity in some of these games. But Brock did okay. I went back and I watched the film, and there's still some things that I see why he didn't get on the field. And I know a lot of people don't want to embrace that or believe it, but when we take our emotions out and you clearly just go back and rewatch, there's some things that are still not there, but it's better. I will say it was better than what we had been seeing up to that point.
Yeah, I get it. I agree totally with what James said. I think it's just everybody, there's always going to be the complainers and people that are ridiculous. Like he was talking about, a guy has a bad game and now he's a terrible person. But I think like James and Chris, me, you, the conversation we're having when you get to like the fourth and fifth game, it's like, all right, like at what point in time, you don't want to, I talked about it before, you don't want to send a guy in and blow him up, get him in a situation where he's not ready, because that could ruin his rest of his career. But yeah, Mike Norvell, I think really, really, you could see him wearing the pressure from the press and things not going right on the field and seeing things. It's just like, what can I even do about that? Like, the guy knows what to do. It's just he's doing damning things when he goes out there. I think he really wanted to wait till Brock is ready and get all those things. It's just tough at Florida State because, things are going to get real nasty when you're losing all these games. As far as Lundy, I think he came in the 2020. It was the first class that Norvell was here. So that doesn't count as a redshirt year. That's a free year in 2020, but he played in 21, played in 22, played in 23, and now has played in 24. So he should be wide open for a medical redshirt there. But he played 5-6 games. So that's where it's going to come in.
I was thinking DJU, my fault, not DJ Lundy.
Yeah,
DJ Lundy's
not.
Yeah, DJ Lundy's not. Yeah, that's unfortunate with DJ Lundy. I like DJ, but he hasn't been playing this good this year.
George, what's your take? We can transition right into the quarterback situation James took us on here with. So I'm looking at Brock Glenn, and I got to say, this is probably the least I've watched of a Florida State Clemson game in, I don't know when to tell you. I don't know when the last time I didn't check in much on a Florida State Clemson game, but I did not see maybe more than 5 plays of this game. 23 of 41, 228, a couple touchdowns and a pick. Would you, with no support from a running game here, 22 yards rushing. Obviously, a lot of that was sack yardage, but still nothing there. George, what was your take on Brock?
He had one sack. We gave up 1 sack.
Yeah, there was a negative 17 by the team. What was that? Somebody kick a fumble back or something? Crazy.
Bad snap.
Bad snap.
Yeah.
For like 20 yards or something. But yeah, I'll just start with the positives. Ton of positives. And this is my argument after a month of getting Brock in there, is that the failures of DJU, whether it was a leg injury in the offseason or whatever the case may be that made his play not be quite what we hoped it would be, is there were so many times where he just could not elude the rush, could not get away, couldn't make a play, and just plays were over. That game manager aspect just wasn't quite there for whatever reason. On top of that, the wide receivers and tight ends, like that's all a big part of it. Like it's all been bad on the offense. But the biggest difference between DJU and Brock that we saw out there was his ability to navigate the pocket, step up, step to the side, take off with his legs, extend plays, and the willingness to pull the trigger. Of course, he had the one interception, but if you believe Hakeem Williams and Mike Norvell, that was Hakeem's fault. He broke off the route wrong. I had tweeted at that point just pretty much what I'm saying. Like, Brock looks good out there. He looks comfortable. Like, he's fired up. The whole team's with him. He's making throws, putting things on the money. And then he threw the pick. And Twitter, oh my gosh, I've never been roasted so hard in my life. What game are you watching? Da-da-da-da. I'm like, man, whatever. I'm just not even going to respond. I'm just going to stop it and watch the game. But he posted the highest QBR of the year, highest PFF score. All those things are all great. I think the biggest part is just the fact of the buy-in from the teammates that know he's going to be there next year. And you could see the difference even in the post-game press conference with the guys talking about it and stuff. So, yeah, it gives you hope that Brock can continue to climb. And if Brock continues to get better and better, we figure out what wide receiver is going to touch the ball. The tight ends come along to where they can be on the field for the majority of the game, the younger tight ends. All of a sudden, you look at Tony Tokars and, okay, Brock Glenn, his first quarterback's doing damn good. You've got Luke coming up, who they're really happy about. Mike Norvell's talked about putting him in the game. He just hasn't made any promises. He doesn't want to say, okay, you're going to get a drive in the third series or anything like that. But, yeah, all of a sudden you're in pretty good shape, especially if our guy from Mandarin, Mel Jones, can come in, and you got Smeagol in 26. So, yeah, that's the positives I took away from it.
It was incredibly, again, when you go, a lot of people only watch. And Mark, one thing I want to say is I appreciate your honesty with that. You didn't watch more than 5 minutes. Most people, I can promise you, have not gone back and watched the game. And going back and watching it, one thing cool that ACC Network does, I found out on Tuesdays, is they put on YouTube every game in its entirety. I would have done that, but that would have been a 3-hour show, and I didn't have the energy to do that. But they have the condensed versions, and unfortunately with the condensed versions, there are plays like the snap was gone, but you get a good amount of them. And what I saw was a completely different game plan call. They did less of those rollout passes that DJ, for whatever reason, they kept letting DJ do, which sped up DJ's clock, but he also is clearly too slow to do that. But what happened was they found 5 linemen that can protect the quarterback. Outside of one play, and that sack was Brock's fault. I documented on my tape Tuesday. He had 4 and 5 seconds. To put it in perspective, I covered the NFL. The NFL now puts the passing time clock. So the average is about 2.7 to 2.9 seconds in the NFL. So when you're getting 4 and 5 seconds, that is an eternity in the game. Now, conversely, my guy over at Clemson got the exact same thing. The running game came down to one person. Otto had a rough go with the running game, and he's a youngin. But what I will attribute the pass, like the first big play that he completed, was to Landon Thomas, a play in which he had an eternity. We haven't had that much time. Now, that could also be attributed to the fact that Clemson did not blitz a lot. But he had an eternity in being able to throw the ball. And guess what the tight end did? He caught it. The key to the difference is he caught it. If we go back to Georgia Tech, we go back to Boston College, we go back to Memphis, and you want to know when the SMU game broke apart? I hate blaming people, because these are like nephews to me. Like, I don't want to but we can literally attribute, as much as everybody hates DJU, we can clearly attribute Kyle Murlock to a lot of the problems that FSU has had. And or as we call them, more drops. And it's the moving and the functioning is exciting. If he goes better next week with the bye week, I want to get more on this thing, but I want to go back to this interception in which George brought up. And I just kind of drew up a little bit of what it would look like with my stick figures and my X's and O's. You have one wide receiver that they did like almost a post. Actually, excuse me, it wasn't a post wheel concept. Keem was literally here. We call it Georgia at Mandarin, and you got Keem here. You had, I believe, a tight end, but you had a receiver here. What was noticeable is you have a wide receiver behind coverage, and you have another wide receiver behind coverage. And who did he throw it to? But he'll be on somebody's NFL tape because that guy who he threw it to, I can't think of his name, but he's at Clemson, is an NFL, AJ Terrell, NFL corner. He threw it directly to him. You can miss me with the miscommunication part. It's okay that we like the guy, but F-ups happen, and you have to be honest with it. And what I think's not happening in that film room is we're not talking to him like they used to talk to us. And that's what happened. It's on video. Keem is behind him. This wide receiver is behind him. The only person who could make that play was AJ Terrell, and it was thrown directly to AJ Terrell. We like him. Anything is better than DJ. I'm with you. But that's what happened when it came to that situation. And
what
that's
Hakeem
not
said
good.
was he was supposed to curl on that and not keep going down the seam. But whether that's true or not, I'm with you. I'm with you.
That could happen. But
Still
AJ was right here. AJ was, if he curls, AJ is still right there. That's still not the right person to throw to. I mean, the most he can do is try to protect him and throw outside, but you'll have a guy who has a beeline on him. But that's okay. The other thing, too, with the problem playing with the youngins is the touchdown that we scored with Amari Williams. Again, I thought it was witchcraft that tight ends were catching. But if you look at that one, look where LaWayne McCoy is. LaWayne McCoy literally almost hit the boy. He would have had a pass breakup. You're not, we used to say you can't have two guys in the same pair of draws. It's a situation where the guys are excited to play. I'm excited for them to play, but we got to really go in and just not eat our own. We can diagnose what's actually happening. And I can see why. I used to be like, why does Mike looks lost on the field? He looks lost because it should work. It's there. It's like when it's the thing that we used to say is when you can see the play is there to be made, it's not the scheme. It's the guys. Now, to that defense, who recruits them and who puts them in those positions. So the blame always comes on the coaches, but it's like, damn, it's frustrating when you know it should work and you can see it on film. Same thing with defense. The second touchdown, was it the second touchdown or was it the first touchdown? I'm trying to remember. Anyways, one of the touchdowns that Clemson scored on, the wide receiver makes a great grab. Cade Klubnik throws that thing up. There are two defenders. You have Fentrell Cypress and you have Conrad Hussey. You have two guys. Mark, we paused it on the video. We paused it on the video breakdown. The wide receiver's like he knows he's either going to get a targeting penalty drawn on him but he's getting put to sleep. Hussey closed his eyes as well. He did not lock in on the target. He hits Cypress, and it's neither one of them can get the pass breakup. Should have been an interception. Two guys fall down, walk into the end zone. Fire Coach Fuller for putting two guys in position to have an interception or a knockout hit. Now, the cool thing in all of this is that maybe as we get these guys reps, they will get great learning opportunities. But as I tell people, experience doesn't mean development. All experience, you can experience improper reps and going out there and fighting for your life, and then you get bad habits. That's kind of where the thing comes. But at the end of the day, the buck stops and starts with Coach Norvell. We missed on the portal, tremendously bad. And this kind of stuff, no matter how you can explain it away, these are the things that get coaches fired. And that's the bad part. Is like we're just saying blow it up. And then what happens is these wounds that haven't healed from firing a coach in a manner in which you probably should have never fired a coach. But as I keep trying to tell people, I can agree that Willie Taggart should not have been fired in 18 months. That was 5 years ago. Mike Norvell did not fire Willie Taggart. Matter of fact, Mike Alford didn't fire Willie Taggart. The new president, those guys are gone. And we kind of got to move forward with that. And I'm promise you this, man. Like people are talking about a prime that that shouldn't have beat Colorado State, a prime that Dave Aranda found a new creative way to lose in Baylor. Like just ride it out, man. And like there's ways that we can make these changes, but I'll say this: there, like to George's point, there are positives because when you're watching film and there's literally nothing you could have done, that's when you get terrified. But when you're watching film, you're like, man, come on, bro. You hold on to this block and we got a big run, man. Or, dude, you don't get your shoulders turned and Matt Maffa doesn't have a hole the size of US 1 to run through. Like, it's just things like that. Those are the frustrating things when watching it. But like I understand why these guys are getting gray. But it was all in all, Clemson, we held Clemson. Clemson kicked 7 field goals. Probably could have done a lot more if they wanted to. Probably kept the game plan a little bit more vanilla, if I'm being honest. But CJ Wilson, one of their coaches at Clemson, played football at Gobby High School in Tallahassee. And for FSU fans, I just want y'all to realize these guys don't – the opposing coaches don't know what the hell is going on. They're like, and I talked one of my teammates that I play with, coaches at one of our rivals that's coming in a game that's coming up. He called me he was more angry than I am. Because he's like, it doesn't make sense. He's like, the talent is there, James. And I'll tell you how I know the talent is there, because we recruited some of these people. We wanted some of these guys that y'all have. I just don't understand it. So when people are saying stuff like that and we're not having those feel sorry for it moments, like they're seriously saying they're nowhere near as bad as what's on film, then that makes me, then I don't know how to explain. And that's the frustrating part for me, is I want to be able to go and just say, this guy sucks, get him out, replace him with somebody else. Anybody is better. But the problem is it's not holding to be true, because it's still not exponentially better. We still have yet to score over 24 points in a game, which is anemic in college football. Like, any competent offense should at least be able to score 24 points once. And I don't think we've done. I think the most points we scored was against Georgia Tech, if I'm correct on that.
21.
Yep.
Yeah.
Boston College, we were 14. SMU was 4. I believe every game has been 14, basically. Outside of Boston College, and outside of Georgia Tech, and that's why I can't get overly excited.
Yeah, I'm not overly excited. Just the excitement is you can start to see the parallels from 2021, and you find your young quarterback, a lot of young pieces, and you can start to build towards building something, which that's not the standard at Florida State. But, people on the fire Norvell hot seat, I have 100% faith in him that he could do the same thing he did in 22 and 23, building kind of from what we have. But circling back to the talk about Brock, I got a few things that I want to hear James's response to, because you talked about finding something on the offensive line. And I know that's true. And the offensive line at times gave DJU time. And that was kind of my thing on him. He's had 3.5, 4 seconds on a lot of these plays that he threw picks or just completely missed guys on. For me, like, how much is the offensive line blocking better as to what I said about Brock actually stepping up, stepping to the side, really navigating that? Because I didn't play football, but you can see where if DJU just keeps dropping back, that left tackle's screwed, because how's he going to block that guy? But if you step up right and you see your guy starting to get beat and you step up into that hole, all of a sudden that tackle isn't going to get a hold because he's got the right angle and things of that nature. It seemed to me, as somebody who didn't play, a lot of that going on. And also, you mentioned the tight ends and things. There's just, I don't know if it's because he's been playing with them and things of that nature. There's a bit of comfort there. But, yeah, you can't be like, that's the two tight ends. Like, you can't be more hyped about what you have there with them. But the offensive line is tough. Like, it was supposed to be better this year. And with everything kind of crashing in on it, and the second part of it is Toafili. The best drive they had, they handed it to Toafili early and often, and that was that touchdown that he had all day long to throw it to Landon Thomas, because they ran it on first and second down on 2 of those things. And I didn't see him run it with Toafili on first down the rest of the game. He had 10 carries, didn't do much. But I've been screaming about this, as a fan since the offseason. He should have been running back 1. If you got an offensive line that has issues, whatever the case may be, that's what made Jordan Travis so good, was his ability to make a run even when the blocking isn't necessarily there. And for whatever reason, like, he got 50 snaps, but they keep wanting to throw all these screens. Are those screens that important to make the offense work? Because to me, it would be more important to run on first down and make Clemson respect that. And we saw it on sometimes, but then, it just went away. But we weren't getting any yards. I get it. This particular game, it's hard to look at. But when you look at a 4.8 yard average on the year, and the closest person to him is like 2.8, or I think somebody has 3 per carry, but they've only got 4 carries on the year. It's just like, are they scared he's going to get hurt? What's the deal there? I'm tired of talking about this, but it's like, to me, it's just, I'm losing my mind when I'm watching these games.
One of the screens, actually a couple of them, and this is why I wouldn't run them anymore. Our wide receivers just don't block. It's bad. And I want to give them props, because Ja'Kai Douglas has gotten a lot better since I really creamed him on a reel. I mean, I just act like against when we played Memphis. Was it Memphis where he missed it? But anyway, he just completely didn't block for Jaylen Brown. And had he just done half a piece of the job, it would have worked. But what happens when you get those, we call them screen, but it's a now ball. But you have numbers. So, like, if you've got 3x3, like one of them, they had 3x3. Jalen got his block, and I don't know who the other one wide receiver was. Keem got his block. Keem was the receiver, I know it was. Malik Benson went for the safety. Keem went here, and they should have blocked on both of those guys, because the corner was so far back that he respected it. And you have numbers. So it's better than a run. It's basically a long run play. You've got you've got 3 people where 2 guys are at. If you guys want to know, you want to know football 101 summed up, it's called, I won't cuss on your channel, Mark. It's called MF for ball. You want to run where you have numbers. There's less MFers there based upon how you align up, whether you pull somebody, because so 11 people are on the football field, right? If you split it down the middle, it is designed for you to have an advantage on one side, because that extra defender, if he goes left, you have even numbers on this side. That's basically how you want to play it. Same thing goes with pass game. If I've got 3-2, that's an advantage. I want to take advantage of that. If I've got 2-4, I don't want to throw it at it. I don't want to do that anymore, unless I'm running a screen and guys are coming in like an alley screen or a jailbreak screen. But back to your original point, yes, that's what quarterbacks want to do. So the tackles, these guys are beasts. These ends are beasts. You don't want them to come inside, because that's harder to block. You actually want them to go outside. So you're welcoming them. But when they go outside, they're taught to come back to the point. So the only way, if you stay here, you're going to get sacked. Once you get to the back of your drop, you've got to climb. And this is what Brock hasn't done well yet, but neither did DJ. Once you get to the top of your climb, you either got to throw it or run it in today's game. And he didn't. So they got to get that fixed. They got 2 weeks to get that fixed. Well, a couple more days. Mike's birthday is on Friday, so shout out to Mike.
Did they not even want to show? Did they not want to show him pulling it or something, or running it too much in this game, almost like saving it for Duke? Like, because you're right. That's the one thing you did not do.
I think it's a lot call. I think it's just a run all the way. They thought they had something, and they could. They did it with Jay Trav as well. The difference is people automatically respected Jay Trav's legs because of what they saw with 4 years of film previous to that. So you had to do that. But I mean, again, it's not a lot. But the biggest thing is you missed on 2 of your transfer portal guys. I talked to another coach that's at Louisville. He brought up the greatest point. So 2022, they brought guys that fit the system that they recruited, and they got the maximum out of those guys. But you also had a quarterback who was in the system that understood it more. So you got the most out of Johnny Wilson. You got the most. You really got good work out of Trey Benson, because remember, they had a guy that they brought in from Auburn, a running back that ended up Trey Benson ended up beaten out, and he ended up transferring out again. 2023, all the transfer portal guys that Florida State got were starters. Well, not all of them. Most of them were starters at their previous spot. So what does that mean? You got the D tackle from Western Michigan. He was a starter at Western Michigan when he came here. Jaheim Bell was a starter at South Carolina. Some people didn't even understand why Jaheim Bell hit the transfer portal. He could have been drafted that year. You got Keon Coleman was a starter at Michigan State. A lot of these guys were starters, and they came in and they gave you starting reps, or even if they were a backup, that was a guy with experience as opposed to Grady, like who's going to be fine, but he's a redshirt sophomore and he wasn't a starter. You got guys that came from smaller levels from Alabama that you thought would be good, but they were young guys that didn't start, that don't have as much experience as you want. I think the only starter we got is Cam, and I don't even think he should have came in the spring, but he hasn't been what was advertised for him at linebacker. So
the one thing to add to that as well that goes right with that is you didn't just have the 23 and the 22 class. This is something that has been largely ignored by myself even. You built up transfers. You had transfers from 2019, 2020, 21, 22, and 23 all go in this draft. They all came back. They were all supposed to leave in 22. They came back to win a title. Plus, you brought that guys in. So, yeah, you missed a lot on this class, but it's not even just that. It's like you brought Grady in, but you brought him in 2020. His name was Fabian Lovett, or 2019, and he was a senior. And so, in hindsight, we were never, ever going to replace three of the best portal classes that there were to this date. But, yeah, absolutely. Sorry to cut you off, but that was like burning my goal to get that out.
So they missed on their portal guys, but guys got to stop being so detrimental and saying you can't live and die in the portal. Shoot, I'm who living and dying in the portal right now and is having a great season.
We're 80% high school. We're the most high school we've been the whole time. The issue is the high school guys weren't ready. They stepped in and didn't get better.
What I'm saying is this is me, Mark, so you can tell them I'm giving them props. This guy, Cam Ward, pretty damn good. The guy who I watched at Cal really set it off in the second half. Simeon Barrow did not start off at Miami. A lot of the linebacker, I think it's Mayago or something like that, did not start off at Miami. It's not a problem with them. Again, stop just because you miss that. It only affects you in multiple seasons when you put your head in the sand and you say and you force it to work. You're going to lose 30. You're going to lose 30 players every year. Lose those 30 players. You need to correct it. You need to get your guys in the future for high school, and you need to get you some guys in the portal. And I'll say this, where I was really wrong, I thought they would have got some quality people in that second round after the college football playoff where more people hit the portal. But maybe that December window was a lot more important, but they were preparing for the Orange Bowl. So I get why they missed on that part. So you need to be a little bit better in that. And then, I don't call for coaches' heads, but obviously when you lose in the manner in which you're losing, you're going to have to make changes. So they're going to make changes. They just need to go out and get some exciting people. I personally love the guy at UNLV. I loved him even more when I realized that he was Mike's quarterback at Tulsa. I did not realize that. So Mike has a tree. He's had coaches. A lot of them are going on to become head coaches. He just needs to go and do his thing, man. So he's got to make the changes and shoot. And just make the best of this year. You still got to go out there and coach for wins. Going defeated the rest of the year ain't going to help you get more of a recruiting class. So you got to go do what you need to do.
Yeah, not only that, like they did an interview. I'm sure you saw it. Like somebody found it a couple of days ago. Like when asked who the most influential coaches are in his life, he named his high school coach and then he named Mike Norvell. So, yeah, there's definitely some truth to that. I know Deshaun on our channel is on him super big time early, but yeah, I agree. And yeah, you got to win a couple games, but with the way it sets up with the bye, when we get Duke, obviously we've never lost to Duke before. If somehow you can beat Duke and then take care of Miami, boy, that would be amazing. But we will see.
There's a lot of wishes right there, man.
Wishes, yeah. Well, take Cam Ward out of the situation, and I legitimately think we could go out there and do something, but I have a hard time thinking in crunch time that Cam Ward won't be able to run around back there and make something happen on this defense. But we'll see. It would be amazing. Like, it would be better than winning the ACC championship last year. That's how hyped I would be if we won that game. Like, it would be something.
What I won't do is act like a Miami fan. Cam Ward is there. Like, I heard for years, if Jordan Travis wasn't there, well, Jordan Travis was there. Cam Ward is there. Cam Ward is better than – Cam Ward reminds me of Jameis in 2014. Like, I believe he's so bored that he has to give the spot the other team points.
I was waiting to see what year you said, but 2014, yeah, that is.
Oh, with Jameis, like, remember the Louisville game when Jameis threw 3 interceptions in the first half, and like they came back down 21. It was clearly Jameis's fault why Florida State had to come back from some of the games they came from. Like, Cam Ward, as amazing as he is, it's Cam Ward's fault you had to come back from Virginia Tech. It's Cam Ward's fault you had to come back from Cal. But it's also Cam Ward the reason why you came back. And I told a guy was on my channel all the time, Luke was like livid with Miami. I said, bro, you guys have Cam Ward. As long as you have Cam Ward, you're going to be fine. And you know, again, respect to where it's due. But yes, if he can somehow beat Miami, that would be a great feather in the cap. But as of right now, when I looked at this season, probably being the best you could do is go 5-7. I'll just be honest with you. Like, I mean, the reason why is because you had the 3 teams that are on your schedule that are better than you are were Clemson, Miami, and Notre Dame. And you've already lost 4 games. So, like, you know, just losing to those games, losing to those guys and beating everybody else, you're in a situation where your season's over after Thanksgiving. So, and that's stuff that I don't ever understand because I've never been privy to how that feels to go home and play a game before New Year's. So, but it's those guys got to play for pride, and that's the thing that's really the most damning thing that everybody keeps talking about. Is that there just is no sense of urgency. There just is no sense of pride. And a lot of people are just using words and phrases that are football phrases that they really don't, like gamer and things of that nature. And I had Seminole legend Peter Warwick on to talk about what is it like, you know, were you just a gamer? What were practices like? And he says, no, man, practice is indicative of how you're going to play. Like, period. Like, you there is no such thing. And he's like, the most dangerous place to be a gamer is at quarterback. Because nobody knows what you can do. So, like, that's why, you know, they've got to get back to where they're actually competing so they know what it feels like when they get into a game-like situation. So,
I think that's 100% correct, but I think you also have to acknowledge, at least in some spot, that quarterback is the one spot that is a factor. Like, coaches get it wrong in the NFL every single year, and college football every single year, like a lot.
Let's listen to the guys who got it right. What would Tom Brady say in that situation? There is actually documented things of what Tom Brady has said in that. What did Drew Brees say in that situation? What has everybody said in those situations? That everybody's attitude reflects leadership. You cannot, if you don't know what you're doing in practice, it's going to, the old idiom is you play like you practice. So if that's the idiom and the excuse is he's just a gamer, it's only going to give you a spark for a little bit.
But they were able to run a different offense. He said it with Brock Glenn due to his mobility. Like, I get what you're saying. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm saying you're absolutely right. But as a fan, when you're sitting there, like,
when you say how many rollout passes did you see Brock Glenn throw?
That's what I'm saying. Like,
let's say if the offense is different due to his mobility,
that's not what everybody was making.
That's what I'm saying. So if you see the rollout, you would see more of those, is what I'm saying, due to his mobility. You saw more drop back passes, which to me is just asinine. What they did was they actually simplified the offense and then did what he's more comfortable doing, which is simple drop back. But he is a better athlete. I wish they would pull the ball a little bit more, but they had to adjust. And him or Luke are the future, and that's the thing. But the part that's asinine is that the wide receiver and one thing. Oof. Now, Makai's, I get why Makai dropped, but the Poitier drop is just inexcusable.
And the block miss. Jesus.
Yes.
That total penalty run would have been 20 yards.
So we see all of these things, and we know it's more than one person. And I think again, I want to see more. Well, I have no choice but see more of Brock. But I think what ends up happening is we're trying to explain things, and it's really unexplainable what we're trying to explain. And even with DJ, and even that, it is something. And we can talk about transfer report, but everybody else does it, and nobody looks this bad. And that's just where the issue comes. Like I don't think right now the way those guys are playing, they can't beat Mandarin High School. Like they don't know, like, and that should never be something that's said.
Facts on top of facts, and it's tough. But when you got to talk about it, we all have these shows that we do all these shows every week, so it's a lot tougher when it's this is what the product is. But I'm sure it's a lot tougher on those guys in that locker room. So
yeah,
hopefully they get it together.
Florida State football talk with all of you guys here at the Voice of College Football every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. James, what's going on at Den Media Group?
Man, just over here trying to get to 7,000. Man, I gave Miami a lot of love today on today's show. We talked about the Cal game and the comeback, and we just talked about the NFL. We've done a lot of breakdown and stuff. We did Tape Tuesday. So if you want to actually, see why and what were some of the things that happened in the Clemson game, we got that up on the channel. We'll have Tape Thursdays for the Jacksonville Jaguars, where we break down all of the stuff that happened in the game. Again, it's like watching the same game on Saturday and Sunday. A lot of bad throws, a lot of overreads. The difference in both teams only have one win. So in that one win was in dramatic fashion, which it shouldn't have been in dramatic fashion. We have those things. We have Trey's take tonight. If you got some things going on, and then
that's in the game right there, baby. You're gonna miss Trey's take. Cut some no slack.
I probably got to do Georgia's show. I used to be on some other shows, but I don't know what's going on with that. So I'm going to go do a once. A lot of people have asked, so we'll do a once a week FSU show. That's not Mark Rogers, where we just really tackle the tough subjects. We talk about recruiting. We talk about the things that I do know. A lot of people are looking for answers and aren't just. I'm not a big yelling ain't gonna change this. Yelling and cussing ain't gonna change none of the stuff that's going on. So all I could do is explain it and then answer some of the questions that I actually do know of to the best of my ability. But we just got cool things going on over there, man. And as we kind of venture into this new year, and like I said, toward the end of this new football season. So hopefully things will be continue to trend well, and we will tell the truth about the things that we know in the best of our ability. So that's what we got going over at Den Media Group.
Yeah, and James knows you're always welcome to come like anytime, and I try to invite you. It's been tough with us being on Fridays and you having college football, but we'll figure something out. We've got the Renegade Roast going on Mondays that Jen and Tiny Hat do. They've really started to get them a pretty good fan base. People get in there and think it's just a FSU show. That show is about all of college football, roasting the weekend of what happened. It just so happens that Florida State started 1-5, so it's kind of hard to ignore the mess in your own house, but that's a lot of fun if you're into something different. We have Canes fans, Tennessee fans, SEC fans, everybody watches that. It's a ton of fun. We usually have shows every Tuesday, Friday, and Sunday as well, but with the bye week, we figured this out the last go around. It becomes kind of repetitive, so we didn't do a Tuesday show, but yeah, just staying busy. We're about 200 subs away from 3,000, trying to hit that landmark and just have fun. We'll probably cover baseball a little bit more this year, given the trajectory of the football program, but no, having fun with it, and just hoping for a win against Duke. This bye week couldn't have came at a better time, and I want to. Like, I made a crazy face when, but as I sit here and think about it, like, probably would have been a pretty damn good idea with COVID coming on to have kept Willie for 2022 and then hired a coach in 2021. Kind of in retrospect, because somebody could have came in and recruited off the ground. Like, that's the biggest part of this. What we're seeing is the fruits of the 2020-21 recruiting classes. That's who all these senior linemen are. That's who all the senior wide receivers and people, Morlock, even though he was a transfer, like, those are the people that are really letting us down, on top of the young transfers like Grady and Earl from Alabama, Roydell Williams, who got hurt but wasn't really breaking any tackles early on. So, yeah, that's an interesting thing to think about. Of course, it's too late, but as people sit here at 1-5, if I get you on a call for coaches and things of that nature. But, yeah, no, Mike can get it back together. We're starting to hear some things in recruiting. Hopefully we can get Mario Nash in here. I am curious because now I know James, he's not being played at the school, knows all these guys personally. He can't talk as freely about coaching moves and stuff, or he could, but it's just not his thing. But what I think you could talk about if you want to, Alex Atkins, like it's imperative. Like the biggest thing about these moves with the staff is that you have to have a recruiting class. You can't afford to lose it. So you got to keep it together, but you want to make changes. I don't know Alex Atkins as well as you do. I shook his hand a couple times. That's it. And watched his coaching clinics and things on YouTube. But do you think there's a chance? You think he'd be willing to bring in the guy from UNLV and go back to O-line so we can keep Solomon Thomas? We can keep this, pretty good O-line class together and get in Nash and things of that nature, because that would be huge, I think.
Oh, man, I think what would happen is kind of like when Fuller came in as the DC. They brought in Randy Shannon, made Randy Shannon co-DC. I think things like that happen, or you call a guy a passing game coordinator. The guy from UNLV understands it's got to be a natural progression in order to get to where he wants to get to. UNLV, G5, lower level G5, obviously performing at a high level, should have beat Syracuse. Personally, they just ran out of gas. But, even going and taking a step back, and let's say he became a wide receiver coach at Florida State or whatever kind of coach that Mike finds. Because I do know that they will be making changes. And, again, it's not even trying to figure out who to call. I won't say this guy needs to go, this guy needs to go, this guy needs to go. I just think that, that's just added stress to something that doesn't need the stress. But you don't have seasons like this and everybody remains the same, if that makes sense. So, it's just somebody got to go. And that comes with – that's just like pruning. Like you see dead leaves on the tree, you got to prune it in order for the tree to grow. So that will happen. Shit happens. Coaches get let go places and they go somewhere else to go flourish. Or sometimes guys' backs are against the wall and they end up performing at a high level. I mean, who would have thought? I would have not thought Arkansas would have the season that they're having with Pittman. I like him as a coach, but they're out there performing and doing what they need to do. But I think that will happen. I also know for a fact that if there were some openings on defense, I already know for a fact one guy is itching to come back home. If they would just
it's like that, James, be for real. It's like that. He's dying to come home.
I talk to him all the time.
God dang. Okay.
I talk to him all the time. And
why did that move not get made last year? But okay. I hope so.
There's two reasons. Randy Shannon did not retire. And again, we can talk about hindsight as 2020.
Yep.
And I tell people this all the time. This is why athletes have complexes, because we hold athletes and entertainers to a higher standard than we hold our politicians or ourselves. If your boss came in after you gave them, like just anybody who's working right now, and you gave them the fourth best year in company history, and they said, you know what, you're fired, you would be livid. You would not want to work for that company. You would tell everybody in America, never work for this company that fired me. Not just after giving them the fourth year in the consecutive years of top performance.
But only half the job, not the other half. That's the difference. Like there's it might be 75% of the job is recruiting. And that would be the one thing that I would say.
You said that they didn't do well, but they're performing. So obviously they're doing some things. So I get it. We're mad. We want something to happen. It should have happened a long time ago. Maybe they shouldn't have been here. I don't care what your opinion is, but now you have rationale to be able to make moves that you want to make. And a lot of the times, every time I remember back, actually was ironic is before we played Miami in 2021, everybody was saying Dugans was fired. And I think even on this show, I think it was me, you, I cannot remember my guy's name now. A guy down in Miami.
Jason?
Jason, yeah, Jason. Excuse me. I think it was just me, you, Jason, and Logan at the time. And everybody was like, Dugans is getting fired. And I went to the Friday practice and I was hanging out and I'm like, guys, I'm telling you, if Dugans and if all these guys getting fired that y'all say are getting fired, they are some of the greatest, most professional people I've ever met in my life. And they're like, why do you say that? I said, because these boys is recruiting. They're working hard. They are smiling. I know I've never worked. Well, the only real job I ever worked was with the Saints, and I got cut, and I was sad when I got cut. Like, if I knew I was a dead man walking, I am not coming into work. When tagging them, knew that they were done, they wasn't going out there working as hard as they could work. Them boys knew it was over, man. And so a lot of times what sells them, like right now, it's not a household secret. I know John Cromenhawk extremely well. That's Luke Cromenhawk's dad. Right now, I'll call him out. War Chant 247. Everybody else are trying to get Luke is leaving. I talked to Luke.
Jeez.
Luke thought he was playing against Clemson, man. Luke is ready to play. Luke has no intentions of leaving as of right now.
It only
it's the
started
same
2
thing they were
years
saying
ago.
about Trammell. Trammell's decommitting. Trammell had no intentions of decommitting when everybody was talking about the things that they were talking about. It's just some of this stuff is cool because it flames and it gets the chats moving. It gets the message boards moving, which is the lifeblood of the beat. And I have no problems with that because that's American capitalism. But you got to realize, guys, that some of this stuff, even me calling them and telling them, I still don't know. It's all deductive reasoning or hypothesis or stuff of that nature. Like, because I'll tell you this, those who know don't tell, and those who tell don't know.
Well, to bring it back to regular people working, you don't go tell everybody you're about to quit, and the boss don't go tell everybody you're about to fire because you're screwed. It'll screw up your interviews and everything you got set up in secret. So, yeah, I agree 100%.
Like I saw this meme that comes in. They say, well, why do you want this job? Nah, don't tell me why I want this job. Tell me why the last person left.
Yeah.
That's what I need to know. What happened? Let me interview, just like they send me references. If I ever had to apply for a job, don't ask for my references. Send me the last 3 people who held this position. I want to know what they feel about you. But
yeah, and folks out there that hate FSU, go look at our record. We've had 4 coaches in like 60 years. So that is, the Willie thing was unfortunate, but people act like we're some huge domino of rolling. Like Florida's had 20 coaches the past 30 years, it seems like. So, sorry. I know we're running low on time. This has been fun.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. This was great stuff for me just to kick back and listen to. Good stuff.
Sorry, Mark.
James Coleman. He's the best. Den Media Group. Get on over there. Check out James' work. When's the next time you're going to be live, James?
Tomorrow I'll be live breaking down the Jaguars. Big Games BS is on. Oh, shoot. Y'all come check out my 11-year-old. Sometimes the only way that you can understand things is when an 11-year-old breaks it down. So maybe Trey will give us more perspective on what's going on at Florida State. Please encourage him. It's on our YouTube channel. He answers questions. He does these different things, man. He's actually really, really good for an 11-year-old. And then Big Games BS will be on Friday at 9:30-ish.
We didn't even touch the national letter of intent. I totally forgot about that, and I wanted to talk about it.
It doesn't matter. Like, people have been signing. All you need to sign is your grant aid.
That's what I've been saying. Everybody's, they're killing college football. I'm like, what does it change? They already changed it. You only had to be here for a semester. Like, and would you rather have a guy sitting there poisoning your locker room for a semester? We got Juice. He went to Maryland or wherever he was at and signed it. And it's just going to, like you said, it's going to, and they even pointed it out, they're just going to move the stuff that was in the NIL to the financial aid. But anyways, don't freak out. It's not all crumbling. It is, like, we hate where it's going. All this stuff is changing. But this has been, as soon as they instituted the unlimited transfer, that basically, it did away with it. And then when they changed it from 1 year to 1 semester, what's the point of it?
We are on to Miami at 7 p.m. Eastern time, or 2 minutes ago. We will see.
Sorry,
you. George, thank you. James, thank you.
Shout out to Cam Underwood.